Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Cheryl Yun. Veteran lawmakers Frankie Yik and Lo Wai Kwok announced today they would not seek re-election in December's Legislative Council polls, continuing a wave of retirements among the city's older politicians. Quinton Yang tells us more.
72-year-old Yik from the transport sector said he made the decision after careful consideration and discussions with family and party members, urging supporters to get behind more young people with the commitment and the capability to serve. Meanwhile, 71-year-old Lo also said he decided not to run again to support a generational shift and encourage more youth representation in the council. Their departure means more than half of LegCo's 12 lawmakers in their 70s have now announced their retirement ahead of the election, including Council President Andrew Leung and Executive Councillors Tommy Chun, Ma Fung Kwok, and Jeffrey Lam. Other senior figures, such as Regina Ip, Michael Tian, and Lai Tong Kwok, have yet to announce their plans. The political reshuffle has sparked discussion about whether an informal age limit is being implemented. The Liberal Party Vice Chairman Michael Lee denied the speculation, suggesting the earlier departures of Leung and Ma simply set an example for others to consider. With the nomination period opening next Friday and elections scheduled for December 7th, the Liberal Party will hold a meeting tomorrow to discuss its electoral strategy following the departures of both Yik and party leader Tommy Chun. Quinton Yang, Cable News.
Shares in Hong Kong slumped, tracking their global peers as the renewed trade spat between China and the United States is getting on investors' nerves. The benchmark Hang Seng Index recovered some of its loss to end the day down 400 points after having dived more than 900 points in morning trade. A 6-day sell-off has cost the index an accumulated 1,400-point loss. Bess Leung reports.
Amid heightening uncertainties over the U.S.-China trade tensions, the Hang Seng Index at one point plummeted by 954 points shortly after lunch and briefly breached the 50-day moving average before settling a bit to recover half of the loss, closing down 400 points at 25,889 points. Meanwhile, market turnover reached $490.3 billion, marking the fourth highest level in history, while Southbound Capital recorded net purchases of $19.8 billion, the most in nearly 2 months. Technology stocks once faced heavy sell-offs, with the tech index dipping nearly 5% before regaining its footing to close down less than 2%. Alibaba and Meituan descended for the 5th day, while Tencent and Kuaishou once saw declines of some 4 to 7%. Xiaomi dipped below the $50 mark following reports that the doors of its electric car SU7 failed to open after a fiery crash in China. Other auto stocks were also under pressure. Fearing that biotech firms may become the victims of escalating U.S.-China trade spat, stocks in the sector struggled, with Wuxi AppTec became the worst-performing blue chip. Bess Leung, Cable News.
After threatening to impose an additional 100% tariffs on China and triggering a global market sell-off, U.S. President Donald Trump appeared to have taken a softer stance towards Beijing, saying the U.S. wants to help China, not hurt it. Quinton Yang reports.
Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One en route to the Middle East, Trump struck a notably conciliatory tone, asserting his great relationship with President Xi Jinping would ensure things will be fine.
I think we're going to be fine with China. Look, I have a great relationship with President Xi. He's a very tough man. He's a very smart man. He's a great leader for their country. He's a great leader. And I have a great relationship with him. I think we'll get it set. I know what happened. I really understand what happened, and I'm not even saying he's wrong.
However, when pressed on the November 1st deadline on new tariffs against China, Trump confirmed the plan remains unchanged. This shifting rhetoric followed a global sell-off triggered by his announcement of 100% tariff on Chinese products last Friday, which wiped an estimated $2 trillion from Wall Street. Writing on his social media to reassure investors, Trump said neither him nor Xi wants depression for China, and the USA wants to help China, not hurt it. However, Beijing has maintained a firm stance. Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian reiterated that China will take corresponding measures if the U.S. insists on its course, but simultaneously called for dialogue to avoid further escalation. Diplomatic channels may offer a path forward as the two leaders are expected to meet on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea later this month, according to the U.S. trade representative, although Trump has threatened to cancel the meeting. Kun Qingyang, Cable News.
Trade experts in the city are adopting a wait-and-see attitude toward the planned 100% tariffs by the United States on Chinese imports, while downplaying the immediate impact on local businesses. The U.S.-China trade war reignited as U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to impose an additional 100% tariff on Chinese imports effective November 1st in response to Beijing's tightened rare earth export controls. Trade Development Council Chairman Frederick Ma highlighted the high volatility of Trump's policy since April, noting it is difficult to predict outcomes and urging cautious observation. He added that the industry should not over-rely on just one or two markets, emphasizing that firms have already seen noticeable results in diversifying toward the Middle East and ASEAN countries. Meanwhile, Hong Kong Shippers Council Chairman Willie Lin said on a radio program that manufacturers have pre-shipped goods for Thanksgiving, delaying the tariff's immediate effects. All eyes are on the APEC summit in South Korea at the end of the month, where a potential meeting between Trump and President Xi Jinping could ease tensions. Lin expressed hope for dialogue but warned that no meeting could signal dire prospects. In other news, thousands of private medical or dental clinics across Hong Kong can apply for a new operating license or a letter of exemption starting today. The application is part of an expanded regulatory regime aimed at tightening oversight of such practices, especially run by corporations. Jamie Liu reports.
Health officials said some medical groups are operated by non-medical professionals and may lack adequate healthcare knowledge, and the new rules mainly aim to regulate clinics run by large corporations to better protect patients. The changes fall under an expanded regulatory regime in the Private Healthcare Facilities Ordinance, which defines clinics as premises where medical services are provided to patients without overnight stays. These clinics also cannot perform hospital-only procedures such as anesthesia and surgery. Clinics that opened after November 30th, 2018 can apply for a full license that will be valid for 5 years. Once documents are submitted, approval typically takes around 15 working days. For those already in operation on or before the 2018 date, they can apply for a provisional license by April 13th next year. This transitional arrangement will allow them to have more time to make changes to meet licensing requirements. The Department of Health said an existing statutory committee will handle and investigate complaints about licensed clinics, with penalties ranging from warnings to license revocations depending on the severity. Authorities said there are about 5,000 clinics in the city. Around 70% of them are eligible for a letter of exemption from licensing because they are operated exclusively by registered doctors or dentists. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
Marking a major step in the peace deal between Israel and Hamas, all 20 living hostages have been freed after 2 years of captivity in Gaza. In accordance with the ceasefire agreement, Israel has returned nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners to the West Bank. Jamie Liu shares more.
Emotional scenes unfolded as the released hostages, including Ethan Moore and Guy Gilboa Delau, reunited with their loved ones in Israel as they underwent health checks at hospital. The hostages were released in 2 groups, 7 in the first and the remaining 13 in the second, initially picked up by Red Cross vehicles in Gaza before being handed over to the Israeli military. Cheers erupted as the military convoy carrying hostages drove past on the way to the rare military base in southern Israel. The aunt of a hostage burst into tears of joy as she heard that her nephew would be freed. Friends and family celebrated with dancing and singing. Meanwhile, the buses believed to be carrying Palestinian prisoners were captured arriving in Ramallah of West Bank. Israeli media reported that nearly 2,000 Palestinian detainees have been released, including 250 serving one or more life sentences. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
The 2025 Nobel Economics Prize was awarded to 3 researchers for their work in explaining innovation-driven economic growth. The 3 awardees are Joël Mocker from the Northwestern University, Philippe Aghion from the Collège de France and the London School of Economics, and Peter Howitt from Brown University. One half of the prize goes to Mocker for having identified the prerequisites for sustained growth through technological progress. The other half jointly goes to Aghion and Howitt for the theory of sustained growth through creative destruction. The prize-awarding body stated that the laureates' work highlighted how new technology can drive sustained economic growth, a phenomenon that was not the norm throughout most of human history when stagnation prevailed. The prestigious award is formally known as the Bank of Sweden Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel. Hong Kongers heading to Europe should brace for delays, with airport arrivals potentially taking up to 4 hours, as the European Union's new entry-exit system, launched just yesterday, has already been causing significant queues across border entries. Quinton Yang shares more.
Long queues of vehicles built up at the Croatian-Bosnian border on Sunday as the European Union's new digital checks came into force. Frustrated travelers were seen stepping out of their cars, waiting to register fingerprints in the facial scans, new mandatory procedures that have replaced traditional passport stamps. Similar scenes are expected at major European airports. At Italy's Rome Fiumicino Airport, non-EU passengers are directed to self-service kiosks to finish registration. The inconvenience was caused as the EU began phasing in a new digital border system, which requires non-EU nationals, including those from visa waiver regions like Hong Kong, to provide biometric data, including a facial image and fingerprints, for travelers aged 12 and above, upon their first entry into the Schengen area. This data will be stored for 3 years to streamline future border checks and accurately track the permitted 90-day stays. While the EU promises the system will enhance security and efficiency long-term by combating fraud and overstays, the initial rollout has been challenging. Airlines and rail operators like Eurostar are proactively warning passengers to factor in significant extra time for border checks, especially on their first trip under the new regime. Quinton Yang, Cable News.
China's external trade performance in September exceeded expectations, with exports rising 8.3% year-on-year, rebounding from a 6-month low in August. The General Administration of Customs said China's trade remained resilient despite tariffs imposed by certain countries. China's exports jumped 8.3% in September year-on-year in US dollar terms, marking the 7th consecutive month of gains. This growth rate, up 3.9 percentage points from August 4.4%, was the highest in 6 months and surpassed expectations of a 6.6% increase. Imports also saw strong growth, climbing 7.4% year-on-year, a significant jump from August 1.3% and well above the forecasted 1.8%. Meanwhile, shipments to the 10-nation Southeast Asian trading bloc grew almost 16%. While the growth rate slowed down from August 22%, the bloc remained China's largest trading partner in the month. Exports to the European Union rose by more than 14%, the most in over 3 years, and those to the US dropped by 27%. Wang Jun, Deputy Director of China's General Administration of Customs, noted that the external environment remains complex, with growing uncertainties and trade challenges. Combined with a high base from last year, stabilizing trade this quarter will demand significant effort. Despite pressures from unilateralism and protectionism, Wang stressed that China's economy remains robust, with strong resilience and vast potential. The country's massive market and comprehensive industrial system provide a solid foundation for stable trade growth in the coming months, he said. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with 1 or 2 showers, hot with sunny periods during the day. The temperatures will range between 27 and 32 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Cheryl Yun. Thanks for watching. Good night.